Christmas just happened.
Christmas has come and gone. Santa went down the chimney and creepily went and broke into a lot of people's houses and stole cookies.
Did Santa leave you?
Well, for y'all that are on the YouTube channeling, I've got a Garmin watch that I got for Christmas. Pretty excited about.
That thing is clean looking. I like it.
Yeah, you can do custom faces on it. I thought that was cool. For me, I'm not an Apple Watch, right? I gave mine to my wife, but I didn't really care about answering my text on a watch or I didn't want to talk to my hello, that wasn't my thing. A lot of people do it. It just wasn't my thing.
No, I got the Apple Watch. Mine's an older Series 3.
Okay.
But I love Apple. I'll buy Apple anything pretty much.
Yeah.
But
no, I liked it.
The only thing is you said you can track your sleep on yours.
Yeah.
There's like an built-in software. You can't do that on an Apple Watch.
Well, I guess you'd have to get like an app for it.
Yeah,
right?
but the ones I've tried, they don't really work that well.
Right.
I'm holding out for Apple to put their actual software, and they've talked about it.
You don't think they did it on the 5? Did they not?
There might be. I'm not sure. I do want to get that one. That was a nice one.
I had it, and I thought to myself, like, I wasn't getting as much out of it as probably she would, so I decided to trade off. And I didn't get a watch. I hadn't had a digital watch in quite some time, so this is the first one in about a year or two that I've had.
Does it track? It tracks your heart rate, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you can use it as like a workout.
Yeah, that's steps, which I don't really care a whole lot about. I think people are always talking about their 10,000 steps. Like, oh, I was at work today and I got 10,000 steps. I'm like, well, if that was your normal, like, your body's adapt to that. So awesome for you for doing what you should be doing. I guess you would now know what your normal is and then try to set goals past that. So I'm not saying it's the worst product for some people because now they're aware of how lazy they are and they can maybe change that. But yeah, everybody's obsessed with like 10,000 steps. That I don't care so much about. But it is interesting to see, like on a day off, how much less I do. So I mean,
and Apple has their calorie tracker and all that stuff. That I'm not as concerned with. I know that for some people that may be a
if you're counting macros or something like that.
Yeah.
Some of these, like MyFitnessPal has an option to put your resting calories in and also your active calories in burned. So that would be kind of cool to use, I guess.
In terms of working out with the Apple Watch, I don't know what it's like on that, but it gives me on my phone like a full
breakdown of the workout.
Like it shows
heart
me
rate.
how my heart rate went up and down.
Yeah, no, I've got that on the app for the Garmin. It shows my peak, my highest heart rate, my average heart rate, and it gives you a graph too, so you can visually kind of see what's going on. But for the most part, I think that's pretty standard. If you have a good quality watch, there's some cheapies out there like on Wish.com, but the Garmin's a pretty good quality product. I haven't dove a whole lot into it just yet. I think there's other features that I'll be using for it. So that was my big Christmas gift. I got some socks and underwear too. Always need them.
Always useful.
Yeah. What did how about you? What did Santa leave you under your creepy tree?
Not much. I mainly got some stuff for my setup at home, my workstation, my battle station. I got some speakers and a monitor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, nice 4K
for your computer
monitor.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that for gaming or is that?
No.
That's for video editing.
Yeah, and I could go in depth about the difference between a gaming monitor and like a workstation monitor.
We're good on that.
Nobody wants to hear that.
I wouldn't even understand what you were probably saying. Anyway.
Yeah, you don't want to hear about millisecond response times.
What? Okay, so moving on past milliseconds because we're burning seconds talking about it. So that you got a monitor. Some stuff for the workstation. You got some Lulus, huh?
Got some Lulu shorts. I love Lulu.
Okay. Is this your first?
No, I have like 3 pairs of Lulu shorts. I'm a big fan of Lulu. Their policy of if something happens to your shorts, you can come and get a new pair for free is insane.
Yeah, well, let's preface that by saying we're not obviously sponsored by
No.
Lulu, but for those that are fitness enthusiasts, or maybe in 2020 is going to change that for you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you an investment, and here's as a gym owner and a CrossFit gym owner, like money can be a factor of accountability, and so for those that are like, I've done this dance a couple times before. And the new year comes around, and I've got my water bottle, and I've got my new pair of workout pants and a shirt or something like that. You go to Walmart and get those things. You spent like $20 for the whole setup. Who cares, right? I can quit any time. You're going to spend some money at Lulu.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing with Lulu. Yeah, they're expensive. Like, they're about $70 for this pair of shorts, which I have 3 of.
Right.
But they're a quality pair of shorts.
Both.
I love how they feel.
Right.
And at any point, for as long as I own them, I can return them and get a brand new pair. It's basically an infinitely renewable pair of shorts. You're gonna have them forever.
My wife had a pair of leggings and created a tear, and I mean, she had them for over 2 years.
Yeah.
And we brought them back, thinking they were just gonna stitch them up, because they always talked about they could hem pants and they could stitch things, and they were just like, yeah, grab a new pair.
Yeah. No questions asked.
No. I mean, they knew it was their product and whatnot, so they stand behind their product. And back to the point, you're gonna spend the $70, $100 and something for the pants probably, and for some of us that sounds outrageous. Trust me, I don't like buying clothes.
Yeah.
But I do have to have clothes on, I think, in most public places. And for me, I got my first pair of Lulu and never looked back. Like, it was about creating, a 7-day week, a closet full of Lulu, basically. I never had the shirts or nothing like that.
No, I'm not as interested in those, but shorts.
The shorts, and I got the pants. I got the sweatpants on actually right now, and I've got some training pants.
I don't have a pair of pants yet.
Man, that was where it sold me. That was actually my first thing at Lulu.
Yeah.
But they don't make these exact pants anymore. But I've never worn anything like that. It was like wearing a cloud. On my bottom half.
They feel great. I wear my Lulus when I'm not even working out.
Well, if you spend though $70 on a pair of shorts or $100 on some pants or something like that, and then this is part of your ensemble for working out, there's a little bit of accountability there, right? I mean, not that you couldn't wear them to be lazy in, but I think it's worth the investment, and maybe that you're investing in yourself is going to push you to stay with it this year in 2020. So I might be reaching a little bit on that one, but I think everything factors in, and we're going to talk about that today with habits. Yeah. So maybe that's one of the little things you might have to change.
Real quick, do you have any idea how that business model is sustainable of basically giving out free clothes every so often? Because I mean, granted, it does build, I think, loyalty with your customers. Like,
right.
I'll buy more from Lulu, sure.
That's huge.
But it seems so crazy to me.
I think it's good quality product. I think they've branded really well to the right demographic. I think any clothing is probably pretty cheap to be made. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Well, depending on
it's good quality, but their margin has got to be. They're not going to sell some. That's why it's expensive. Is that it probably costs a little bit more to make than, Academy's brand, but they still have a huge margin on it, I'm sure. Yeah. And a lot of people aren't going to take advantage of that either. They don't either know about it or just some people aren't going to take advantage. I've got some that aren't torn, but no, they also hold up though. So maybe that's the thing. Like, that was an anomaly that happened with that rip, and they just really don't rip that often.
I had a pair. It lasted about a year. They had a tiny little hole in the pocket, and I was like, maybe I can get these returned. They didn't even look at the pocket, and they just took them. Wow. just a tiny little hole.
Maybe there's an outlet to it, like they're gonna repair it, and they've got an outlet that they sell them, so they're gonna get some money back on it anyway.
Yeah, they do have that clearance outlet.
Yeah, maybe that's where some of those go. I think it's the fact that they just have actually a good quality product, and like you said, I'm bought in. Like, for 6 years now, I get a pair or two a year, maybe more in different years, and I couldn't. The funny thing is, Under Armour and Nike, they all have their $70 pair of shorts too, and I have a pair of Nikes that nowhere close to me, and they were about $50. Yeah. So I don't know. That's me. Lulu, check them out. We're not sponsored. Lulu, if you need some people to represent,
holler at
us. All right. Well, let's take a quick break. Once we do, we're gonna come back with
some habit talk.
Some habituals. All right. We'll be right.
Rituals.
Habitual rituals when we come back.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning into the Olympian Project. Just a quick reminder that we are on iTunes, Spotify, and on YouTube in a video format, as well as the Wednesday WOD. First episode just went up last week, so if you're interested, go check that out. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
So, habits. And let's start off by, I always like to dive into us personally.
Yeah.
Do you have any habits that
Bad
you can
or
talk
good?
about?
Bad or good?
On the radio?
Bad or good?
Habit's a habit, right?
Yeah.
Good or bad? But
I think if we're talking about habits and, developing habits, breaking habits is a part of that. So,
yeah.
So bad habits?
Yeah, what kind of bad habits do you have?
I mean, I think everyone has an outstanding amount of bad habits that they don't even realize, such as, staying organized, staying clean, stuff like that. That's always been one that's really plagued my life in, school and every day.
You saying cleanliness? Is that what you said?
Organization.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even a little bit of cleanliness. Like in school, my backpack was always completely. I would be searching for 3 minutes to find a paper.
Right.
Stuff like that. And my room's never been extremely organized. That's probably one of my worst habits is organization.
Okay. Well, should we also? Okay, so let's start off this, and we're going to dive into Mr. James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. We're both reading it. You're reading it way faster than me. Atomic Habits, he has the top of his book there. It says, Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results. And he defines habits as habits are small decisions you make and actions you perform every day. So I think everybody is pretty on board with that being the general definition of habits. It's crazy to think, everybody wants to think about the big goal and what they want to do and don't realize there's so many little building blocks to how to get there and what's going to get them there and also what's going to stop them from getting there. So that's the good habits and the bad habits. Yeah. So what about good habits? What have you put in place to help you?
See, and that's the thing is really up until recently, I've never really had any extremely good habits that I can think of. But, recently I've been doing meditation and reading. Those are two habits which, and this is not in this book, but I've read are considered keystone habits, which they're habits that lead to a lot of other better habits being
open
implemented.
Up some doors.
Yeah. So those are two that I've adopted, and obviously a lot smaller ones. The book is about those small little habits that make a big impact. So there's plenty of small ones.
It says here researchers at Duke University even account habits for about 40% of your behavior on any given day.
Which is crazy. He dives into that a lot in this book that,
I don't even think I've got to that point.
Yeah, he there's so many examples he brings up that are little decisions that you might make every single day, which are completely habitual, such as
you don't even know it's happening.
Seeing a candy bar, laying around, you're like, hey, why not? I'll eat a candy bar.
Right.
You're for example, you're at a grocery store. They put all the candy right next to the checkout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They know how to get you.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting, and I don't want to skip ahead too far. He starts off by talking about the process. I think it was a good place to start, and not being so much goal oriented but being more oriented around the process to reach those goals. Because we can all say, well, I want to eat healthier in 2020, right? I want to work out more in 2020, but that doesn't mean anything. Like, well, how are you going to do those things?
Yeah.
And that's the process that he talks about. And then for me, it almost opens up in my mind like a game, like a chess game, like putting things in place, because that's what it is. Like you said, you see something, you react to it, and it's become a habit. So now you've got to almost change the geography of your living situation, and if like. Something he talked about was, I want to eat more fruit, but like a lot of times he would buy apples and stuff like that and put it in the bottom drawer of his refrigerator. And I know I've done it many a times, and like months later goes, well, what's in this drawer? And opened it up, and it was some moldy looking apples or bananas or something that got left behind, because I just never saw it. I literally just never looked at it. And so he said, he bought he invested into a nice display bowl or whatever, and put it out on his counter top, right out in the open, and filled it with fruit. And he was just more apt to, because he was walking by it on a regular basis, to grab that fruit rather than the candy, which maybe just don't buy the candy. But then, yes, you have to look at all your habits, good or bad, and what's getting you to that point. So
now, and I think it's important when we talk about habits, we talk about the basic structure of habits, which is pretty much well regarded as, how habits work. And he has a little bit of a different take on it. From pretty much everything I've read before this, habits are usually, you have your cue, you have your response, which is actually you're doing the habit, and then you have your reward. Well, he breaks it down a little bit further and goes into cue, craving, response, reward. I think he uses different words, but that's essentially the formula, and that's called the habit cycle. So you gave the example of he wanted to eat more apples, so he decided to,
which was the goal.
Yeah, he decided to create a cue, which was seeing the apples sitting there on his table.
Right.
Have his brain have the craving to eat an apple. His response being eat the apple, and then his reward being, well, he
fulfilled that craving.
It's a good apple, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
No, yeah, I think that cycle is important to understand, so that and this can get overwhelming a little bit. So I think don't bite off more than you can chew to begin with if you're going to try to create new habits. Another one for me in 2020, the church I go to does a 365 Bible read, and every day there's certain chapters and readings that you have to do to stay up with it. And I want to do it every night before I go to bed. And so he was, he thought, if you want to read more, and a good opportunity to do that is before you go to bed. Make your bed when you wake up, put the book there on the pillow, and as you go to bed, you can't obviously avoid it whatsoever. You have to move the book out of the way at minimum, and that's going to remind you. So, my goal is to read more. When I get to the bed, I'm going to, the cue is going to pick me up there's the book. The craving is kind of being pushed from my goal, I guess, in that case. Like, I want to read that. And then doing the action, and being rewarded with the fact that I've accomplished what I'm trying to do at that point. So, I think that's one that I'm going to really dive into. But you can, obviously, there's so many habits that we have for food. Is there anything that you noticed maybe that you've been thinking about now? Like, what subconscious habits have you created to eat certain foods?
Not for foods, no. Food has always been something that I've had a lot of self.
You have a habit from not eating anything good.
So yeah, I guess so.
You got to almost reverse it a little bit.
I guess in that sense, yeah, I have a habit of seeing something that in my head I know I won't like and kind of disregarding it.
Right.
But in terms of healthy eating choices, I don't have a problem with that. I'm pretty good at controlling myself when it comes to food.
Do you have you don't have cravings for some sort of sugary food, chocolate?
See, that's the thing. I'm not even
chips.
I'm not even big on sugar.
Yeah.
I hate the way sugar makes my mouth feel. So,
again, the more I do this podcast, the more I learn that I don't want to learn things. So, I mean, but obviously I think that was formed, like your lifestyle, you growing up, whatever that was, formed some habits to not crave these things, right? And I think let's dive into some of these.
I guess in a sense that is kind of an anti-habit, you know?
Right.
My dislike for sugar, because when I eat sugar, there's that instant reward of, oh, this tastes good, but then afterwards I'm like, my mouth feels kind of gross. I want to go brush my teeth, you know?
Yeah, so again, you can dive into those 4 pieces of the puzzle that he talks about. And I think everything is, I mean, if you look at it like a computer, something happens, there's numbers and all this stuff put together for reactions. And if this happens, then this needs to happen. So I think it's a formula. And that's kind of what we're looking at and diving into some diet things for habits. Like, I think you've got, for me, okay, when I was 23, and we talked about this a little bit a couple episodes ago, but you know, alcohol had been a big part, and so were Monsters or energy drinks or whatever. And I needed to get rid of some of that stuff because it was unhealthy for me at the time. I literally, and this is before I started reading this, but I think we do apply these rules sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And if you understand these rules even more, you can apply them in all different kinds of parts of your life.
Agree.
So at the time, I don't think I was thinking, oh, this is an atomic habit, you know, or this is because of bad habits. I don't know how I defined it honestly then, but now I look back at it, and I had to subtract myself out of that lifestyle, and meaning when I was around my friends, they were either drinking or they were doing something around drinking, and so, all right, we're gonna go to a bar. Yeah, you don't have to, you don't have to drink if you go to a bar, right?
No.
But when you go to a bar, you associate it with drinking.
Yeah. All those cues of
right,
this is the place to drink.
So, and then of course you only smoke when you drink. I mean, that's a lot of people say that, but it's like, why do you do that? Oh, it's a habit, right? I mean, you can easily see that and define that with the cue of drinking. There's a cigarette, and a lot of people do that. So it's not just saying, hey, I'm going to quit smoking, right? I mean, but I'm going to still have that cue in my life. Doesn't add up very well. That's very tough. And I think he says also in the book that it's not just about willpower. It's not just the strength of willpower. That helps a lot, but it's about setting yourself up for success through the process.
Willpower is less important, essentially.
It's less important, yes. Not that it's not important.
Because and willpower, as humans define it, there's a limited supply. Okay. You know, we can't sit here and just completely resist something for an endless amount of time.
Over again, yeah.
You know, and you know, to bring it on a much smaller level, rather than drinking and alcohol, something a lot of people struggle with, I think more on a bigger level, is social media. And I've been reading this book for.
Well, that's new too.
I've been reading this book for 3 days, and instantly I started realizing that every time I picked up my phone, I went
through a routine.
Yeah, essentially. I would open my phone, I'd scroll to the left and hit Instagram. Every time, almost. When I wasn't picking up my phone to do something specifically,
right,
I was randomly picking up my phone to open it and go to Instagram within 5 seconds.
You know what's funny about that too is like I would be like, hey, where's my phone? I need to check my emails. I think I'm getting an email, and I would get I would have to find it. So like a minute later, I found it, and then I'd open it and I'd be like, I'd click Facebook first.
Yeah.
And then I'd hit Instagram and be like, wait, oh, I was supposed to check my email. Yeah. I got into such a routine every time I picked up my phone that I had to hit these certain, social media links.
And the crazy thing about that is that habit takes 5 seconds, but can lead to 20 minutes of you randomly scrolling through Instagram accounts that you don't even care about.
You know what I started thinking about? And I think it was in the book, but I started thinking about something to apply to my life for that, because I guess if the cell phone is for like texting, phone calls, and social media, that's okay.
Yeah.
You just now have to realize, because it is a big part of our lives, now you have to realize, like, my thought process on this now was like, I think I'm going to get an iPad. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start separating that. And I think it was in Atomic Habits, the last where I was at in the chapter. I think I'm on chapter 7 right now. But anyway, like my phone is going to be for just phone calls, text, and email, and then have my iPad just for social media. So like
And
I can make
entertainment.
entertainment, and my computer is for work.
Yeah.
And I only pick up that. Maybe I was going to do social media on the iPad. That makes more sense because you're going to have your phone.
Yeah.
But if I can take that off my phone so that I can just make phone calls, email, and text, yeah, right. Then the iPad, I know when I'm picking it up, that's what I'm doing for it, and I can start to minimize the time I'm on there for no reason. Because, like you said, like, did you need to check those things right then and there? No, you didn't. But your habit was to pick that straight up.
And that is one of the principles he explains in the book is how your environment shapes your habits.
Yeah.
And while a phone and a tablet isn't necessarily your environment, it's something that you interact with in your environment constantly.
Yeah.
And I kind of have this dilemma where at my computer at home, I work off of it, I watch movies off of it, and I play video games off of it. I do so much on that computer that sometimes it's extremely hard for me to start
focus
working,
on,
you know? Because when I get on my computer, I don't know whether I'm playing a video game, whether I'm watching TV or a movie.
Subconsciously, you don't, right?
No,
you might have the best intention.
Yeah.
Because, like, an intent to stop smoking is a great intention, right?
Yeah.
But if you keep going to the bar and you keep drinking alcohol, which is a huge cue for your smoking, you're not doing yourself anything other than saying you want to do something. And that's where he talks about, too, in the book, where, like, people that look like they have a ton of willpower, it's not that they're exhausting their willpower. They are just organizing like you said, the process. They're organizing their surroundings to be successful to where they don't have to use their willpower as much.
Exactly.
Right.
What the whole idea is you want to make it harder to do your bad habits and easier to do your good habits. So one thing I could do at home to minimize the bad habit of playing a video game when I should be working is delete the video games off my computer. And when I want to play the video games, I have to reinstall the video game.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's kind of what I was talking about, but further,
Yeah.
if you have the capability, like if you had an Xbox, that's your gamer. If you had a computer, that's your worker. Yeah. If you want social media, that's your phone or whatever. So you break it up to where, and he even talks about rooms in the house, which I thought was interesting. You can confuse them. You can muddle up what they're used for, and you need to define them. It's not like you need to get rid of social media. It's not like that's not a useful tool. But when you've mixed it up on one device, when you sit there and you look at it subconsciously, you told yourself consciously that I need to work, but subconsciously it's a reaction. It's just like, oh, this is where I play games. And then all of a sudden it clicks in. And, you work for about 20 minutes. You're like, I get a game in real quick, and I'll get back on it. And that doesn't usually work out very well.
One thing that this can apply to pretty much everybody is sleep. How many people do you think sit in their beds and watch TV or scroll through social media?
Right.
Your brain starts to associate your bed with
jump on the
scrolling
phone
through social media or watching TV and not sleeping. A lot of people who put a focus on sleeping and have really good sleep habits only get in their bed when it's time to sleep.
To go to bed. Yeah.
So when you get in your bed, your brain is like, all right, let's start.
Well, and the distractions, the habits of distraction start to. Well, you got to keep them away from you, right? Yeah. So for some of us, your phone might need to be plugged into another room.
Yeah.
Right.
If you don't
have an alarm clock. Yeah, well, just get a damn alarm clock. How much do those cost? You can get one at the dollar store for probably $1, and it's cool, and but at this point you're going to bed to go to bed, and yes, maybe keep the ringer on in the other room, so if there was an emergency, you would hear the ring, but not the little chirps and buzzes. Turn all that stuff off, and keep it out of your room, and that might be the way to handle that. I know I have to really think like, all right, I'm going to lay down on the bed. I'm only going to do this for 5 or 10 minutes, but it doesn't always happen that way. And you just, your head is cluttered, and you'll lean over and be like, I can't go to sleep, and grab the phone. Well, now you're really not going to go to sleep, right? Like that's the opposite of what you should do.
I'm pretty sure everybody's done that at some point.
A lot of people have that. That's a perfect one. And I think it's a separate, if you built that habit to do it though, I think you got to have confidence in the fact that you can develop new habits, right?
Yeah.
Because people my age, 35, like we didn't grow up with a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we slept perfectly fine, went to bed, it's okay. I think there's some anxiety tied into changing habits that make you comfortable.
Yeah, and that's one thing he talks about in this book is that this stuff isn't going to happen overnight. It's one of the first things he talks about, actually, the rule of 1%, getting 1% better every day.
Yeah.
Just because you decide today that you're going to stop getting on your phone when you go to sleep, you're going to stop eating a chocolate bar every time you see one, doesn't mean that in 3-4 days, maybe even 2 weeks, that you're going to actually stop doing that stuff. It takes time for habits to develop.
Yeah.
And to learn to create these habits.
Well, and let's talk about one too. Like if you're trying to work out this year, like you're gonna get into a gym for the first time, the night before you go to bed, you need to go ahead and pack your gym bag up. Mm-hmm. Put clothes in it, shoes, whatever. Have it by the door.
To making it easier.
For
your good habits.
While you were talking about that, I'm sitting there going, again, you can say that you want to do these things. That doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Like, that's great. You got good intention, but what are you doing to get it done? And somebody that says, like, this is the year I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna do something for myself. Getting here, when people get here, I know here at CrossFit Willis, it's class oriented. You're gonna work out. It's not about what you do when you get here. Mm-hmm. I have all the cues for you to be successful. Yeah. And a gym typically does. There's weights there. There's people working out. Those are good cues to work out. The problem is getting to the gym. That's what I found mostly with most people. It's not that when they get to the gym that they have that big of a problem with it, but it is getting there and not having the excuses and the bad habits to hold them back.
Yeah.
So I would definitely, like little things like that, you've got to create the process for it to be possible. Don't have the excuse of not having your clothes or your gym bag. It should be a priority that night to do it.
Yeah. This is an amazing book, and it covers so much. And I don't think there's any way that we could actually express the things he says in this book in an hour-long podcast. No. It's a book it's a long book. It's taken me hours to read it. So if you're really interested in it, I suggest picking it up for yourself and actually diving into these concepts.
A little for the YouTube channel here. There's the book right here.
Yeah.
Atomic Habits, Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results. Of course, again, we're not sponsored by Mr. James Clear here, but this is something that is good material to read. But also, I do Audible, so for those that are bad readers like me, don't get me wrong. I'm going to pick up some paperbacks and some hardbacks this year to get better at reading. That's another goal. But I do want to consume as much knowledge as I can through books, and Audible's been a great way for me to do that.
So I think we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back and talk maybe a little bit more about this. And I know you had a segment you wanted to do about quotes. So
we're going to jump into some quotes that might get you pumped up.
Yeah.
But we're going to rate them. We're going to give you what our thoughts are on these quotes.
Be a little bit fun.
Yeah. We'll be back.
All right, guys, before we get back into the podcast, I just want to let you guys know that we do have a Patreon account for those of you who want to support the Olympian Project and what we are trying to accomplish here. Go to patreon.com/Olympian Project. There you'll be able to access bonus content such as monthly bonus episodes of the podcast, plus a few other perks like being able to listen to the podcast a day early and shout-outs in the podcast as well as Q&A priority. And if you want to support the podcast for free, and I'm going to stress that it's free, to go to iTunes and leave us a review, leave us a rating. It helps us out a lot. Thank you guys so much, and let's get back into the episode. So, one of the concepts that he talks about in the book, just real quick before we move on, is habit stacking. Okay. So, and you haven't gotten to this part of the book, I don't think, but it's something that actually I was doing before I ever read this book, and I have been doing for a while. We talked in an earlier episode about routines, and you talked about my routine and how I was trying to develop a routine, and that's essentially what habit stacking is. So what habit stacking is we talked about the cycle that habits go through: the cue, craving, response, reward. What habit stacking is essentially molding 2 or more habits into sort of a ritual to make one habit a cue for another habit or a reward for another habit.
Right.
So
no, I just got into that part, and that's where I got the putting the book. So you're making your bed, but put the book down. That habit stacking. So if you make your bed in the morning, that's a habit already.
Yeah.
So now I know I need to read, and I just tie something in. So now I'm gonna make my bed every morning, but I just throw that book on top of that pillow every morning. It's gonna become part of that habit.
Yeah, and so that's something that I think is so cool, because one of my stacks that I have is reading and meditation being two of my big goals for the year.
Right.
Every time I meditate, I use reading as not only a reward, but my meditation be a cue for my reading.
Right.
So so essentially, whatever my cue is for meditation, usually it's something in the morning or something in the middle of the day, I use that cue to meditate.
Yeah.
Meditation becomes a cue for reading, which I want to do anyway. I've been wanting to read this book.
Right.
So therefore, being able to read right after I meditate becomes a reward for meditation. And meditation is also a cue for reading.
Well, here's something I think anybody can build off of. Let's look at people's habits. Like, it's not really good or bad. Well, they're good, but showering.
Mm-hmm.
Do you shower in the morning or evening?
Morning.
You're in the morning shower.
Yeah.
See, I shower at the end of the night.
Yeah.
So I can't go to sleep, first of all, without taking a shower. But that is a habit. I have to take a shower every night.
And for me,
95% of the time.
For me, if I take a shower at night, I'm wide awake and I can't sleep.
Really? So that's completely the opposite for me, and that's probably why I don't shower in the morning, because it is now cued. Or sorry, I guess in this case, what cues sleepiness for me?
Yeah, for me it cues.
But it's a habit, right? Yeah. So okay, let's hear this out here. So I shower every single night, and something that I'm going to tie in my stack here is yoga. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, first of all, I like yoga too. It kind of keeps feeding that sleepy. I'm gonna like stretch out, breathe, work on my breathing patterns while I do my yoga or my Ramwad, and then go to bed. But I'm going to tie it and associate it with my shower. And I'm going to shower every night. So that means I should stack it and do my yoga every single night.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to do my yoga, and it's like random parts of the day, and there's no like habitual timing to it. Mm-hmm. So that's how I'm going to utilize that. And I think you're right. Like, I'm going to shower, and if I associate that with yoga, I'm going to do the yoga. Mm-hmm. It's pretty crazy if you think about it, but it's also that simple.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. So that's just something I wanted to talk about a little bit. Habit stacking is such an interesting concept to me, and it's something I think everyone can utilize.
Everyone's got a habit of some sort.
In some way.
Yeah.
Everyone has
brush
a
your teeth
routine.
before you go to bed.
Everyone has a morning routine. You might as well implement something into that routine that is going to benefit you 1% each day. Make you 1% better each day. So I think we're going to move on from the Atomic Habits a little bit. Again, if you want to check that out, I think we'll try and leave a link in the description of the podcast and the YouTube video. So go check that out. It's a great book. It's about...
So far, yeah. I hadn't finished it, but so far I like everything about it. We're going to move into some quotes, some old, maybe some newer, but we're going to approach this a little differently. We're not just going to read them. We're going to give our opinion / we're going to rank them a little bit.
Okay.
Like, I want to know if this is going to get Gary motivated to do whatever. And let's paint a picture here. You are about to, and I haven't even read these quotes yet. Mm-hmm. This is going to be completely freestyled. But let's say you're about to go run a 5K.
Yes.
First of all, let's get your input on a 5K. How motivated are you to do a 5K just right now?
I've only ever ran 3 miles, which is what a 5K is, one time.
Okay.
So
you're not highly motivated to do that?
No.
So, okay, I'm going to read you a quote today. I'm going to read you a quote, and I'm going to know if this gets you motivated for this task. I have no clue what this is going to do. Okay. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, quote, "Make the most of yourself, for that is all there is of you." I'm going to repeat that. Make the most of yourself, for that is all there is of you. Yeah. Ralph Waldo Emerson. You're about to run a 5K. You read that quote. What do you think?
I think in a different context that...
No. We are playing a game here. This is for your 5K. Are you running that 5K harder? slower, or not at all?
Probably slower.
Make the most of yourself, for that is all there is of you. Just didn't do it for you.
No.
Okay, let's take it out of the 5K context. I feel like it's simple, but
yeah. I mean, make the most of yourself. You know, if you wake up in the morning, you read that quote, what am I going to do today that's going to make the most of my day?
Okay.
You know?
Let's go on. And again, I'm not looking at these quotes before I ask the question. So
are we going to rate that one?
Okay, give it a 1 through 5. We'll keep it simple.
1 through 5. Are we going based off the 5K or just in general?
We'll go back to general. Okay. I think I want your initial reaction based on the story, but for the overall, we'll just say general.
I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, I was leaning to 4, and I don't know if there's going to be any bad motivational quotes. So that was the first one, and this one's going to be a long one. But here, let me paint the picture first. You are about to get into a bar fight over a girl, your girlfriend, I guess. Let's just say, and a guy went outside of what he was supposed to do. Okay, he disrespected your girl. And here's Sarah Dessen from Keeping the Moon. Don't know anything about this lady here. Do you know that name?
Sarah Dessen, Keeping the Moon.
No.
Okay. I'm guessing Keeping the Moon is her book.
Oh, this is not going to apply at all. I just read the first line. Quote, Sarah Dessen, if you try anything, if you try to lose weight, or you try to improve yourself, or to love, or to make the world a better place, you have already achieved something wonderful. Before you even begin, forget failure. If things don't work out the way you want, hold your head up high and be proud, and try again, and again, and again. You're about to go into a bar fight over your girl.
So
basically, she's saying, dude, if you lose this fight, now again, guys, this is a quote. I'm randomly putting two things together, but that's kind of funny.
So basically, if you lose your girl to this guy, suck it up, dude.
Well, kind of, and then try again, right? Yeah. You get knocked out, get back up. I mean, it applies a little bit. That was fairly inspirational for a bar fight, but let's take the bar fight out. Let's
even I think. If you were to randomly read that quote, probably not that great because it requires failure before.
Well, and I don't want to evaluate it like we're quote professionals, right?
We're gonna try our best.
Yeah, let's make that clear. All these quotes are obviously I'm on a website here, and they're all up here for a reason. Somebody thought they were really good, and they motivated somebody, I'm sure. So I don't want to downplay these people and their integrity and their person, okay? With that being said, I'm going to read it back one time, this time a little bit faster. If you try anything, if you try to lose weight or you try to improve yourself or to love, to make a world a better place, you've already achieved something wonderful. So she's saying if you tried, you did something.
Yeah. I give it a 2. I don't but for that quote to be good, there requires failure first. So yeah, in that case, it could be a good quote, but it's so limited, I think.
Yeah, I think you're saying that quote to somebody that did just fail.
Yeah.
And then brings them back up to the fact that, hey, you did something some other people do. And I believe that, right? But I don't think – see, now we put it in context. You were about to go do something, right? And so then it's like, well, if you fail, you fail. Yeah, that's why it was kind of funny to me. So that's not the quote's fault, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 3. I'm going to say 3 on that. Let's paint a picture. You give me because you're not even looking at the quotes. You paint the picture.
Oh, gosh.
Just anything. Maybe I've already done something. I've failed or succeeded. About to go. Here, you got one.
Let's put you in more of a negative situation.
Let's do it.
You see the best looking chocolate cake.
Uh-oh.
And in your head, you're just like, I'm about to devour this chocolate cake.
Right.
What does this motivational quote do for you?
Okay, so I'm assuming that I shouldn't eat this.
You should not.
You shouldn't.
Of course not.
All right, so we're going to go with, this is not the Muhammad Ali that you would know. Muhammad Ali Jinnah does not look anything like Muhammad Ali that most would know. Okay. Yeah. I'm about to eat cake, and Gary comes up next to me, and he says this to me. He says, I do not believe in taking right decisions. I take a decision and make it right. That's good. That's
perfect.
That is, and that's a completely random read. Gary put up if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see he doesn't have the view here. He said, there's a cake right in front of me. I'm trying not to eat cake, but I know in my mind I'm about to devour this thing. And Gary comes up to me and says this quote. Of course, this is Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He says, I do not believe in taking the right decision. I take a decision and make it right.
That couldn't have been more perfect.
That was perfect. Now, let's take it out of that context because I still don't really get it. I do not believe in taking the right decision. I take a decision and make it right.
Yeah, it's not a good quote, I don't think. In what situation is that a good quote? I mean,
I'm sure there's one, right? I mean, like, you're telling me that it doesn't matter what you decide, just make it right. Like, I decided to not go to work for a week straight without calling my boss, but I'm going to make that right somehow, right? I do not believe in taking the right decision. I take a decision and make it right.
There's got to be some context.
I think it's like kind of trusting your decision making.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking to somebody that's trying to make the right decision,
believing in yourself.
Believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Believing in your decision. Don't second guess. Second guess.
Yeah. When it comes to devouring a whole chocolate cake,
that's not a good decision, probably. But
for anyone,
make it right. I guess.
Yeah. Run a 5K.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to give it a 1 because I think it only applies definitely in certain situations. So if I'm just reading motivational quotes, like that ain't gonna work for me. All right, Gary, what you want to paint another picture here? Another opportunity.
Oh God, you put me on the spot here.
Well, I was gonna say this. Gary's about to get into a ship that's going to go to NASA. Or, sorry, go to space. It is NASA. He's about to go to Mars.
Yeah.
Right? But you are on a boat? Yeah, on a boat. And you're about to go to Mars, and you're a little scared, right? I mean, I think people would say they were excited, but at the same time, wouldn't you be a little nervous?
Oh, yeah, I'd be scared to go to space. Are you kidding me? That's terrible.
I mean, there's been a lot of bad things happen to some rocket ships going up into space. So, here we go. Aldous Huxley came up to you and said this. Said, all right, Gary. There's only one corner of the universe you can be certain of improving, and that's your own self. Are you motivated to get in that ship?
No, because my self is on Earth, not on Mars.
So that place in the universe is on the ground. It's on the Earth. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but let's take it out of context because that's funny. But here it is. There is only one corner of the universe you can be certain of improving, and that's your own self. And I think that's
great quote.
Yeah, that's a good quote. The grass is greener on the other side, kind of thing.
Don't worry about anyone else.
Improve yourself.
Yeah.
You know, if we talk about the habits, like that's gonna improve you, making the process the right way. I saw another one up here. This is Jim Ron. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. So I thought that applied very well.
I think that sounds like something he said in the book. Maybe he quoted him in the book.
Really?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe so. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. Yeah. So that motivation is typically like your goals.
Yeah.
Right? I want to make $1 million. Mm-hmm. That's the motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Habit's the only way to get there.
Yeah.
You know, setting yourself up, the process. We talked about that. So I thought that was good. We'll go one more time. With one more quote here.
Okay.
But I need you to get me. I need a story here. I need motivation. This is about to happen. What is it, Gary?
You just lost. You just went bankrupt. Just spontaneously.
I need some motivation from
really
a quote.
Need some motivation.
I just lost all my money, my house.
Yeah. Odds are a quote's not going to help you, but
right.
If
it might start something though.
Yeah.
Okay. This is from Voltaire Candide. We already know I'm terrible with names.
Yeah, very terrible.
Voltaire. I just like Voltaire.
Voldemort.
It's not Voldemort. I don't even know what that is.
You don't know what Voldemort is?
We're not going to get into movies, right? This is a Harry Potter thing.
I'm just saying.
Is it Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?
If you didn't know what Voldemort was.
Is it Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
It is Harry Potter.
I knew that. All right. I'm bankrupt. Gary comes up to me and says, "Let us cultivate our garden."
Chances are you don't have a garden.
I don't have anything. That doesn't apply a whole lot to that.
That's very niche, I guess. I mean,
well, I'd say it's very
it's up for
broad.
Interpretation. Yeah.
Well, right. Niche would be very small. So, let us cultivate our garden. It's kind of like the other one. This one definitely applies, like the grass is greener. Like, don't worry about what's on the other side.
Yeah.
Don't worry about somebody else's garden. You know, the kind of the same thing with the quote with the universe.
Yeah.
Don't worry about you. Jane Austen, she was a famous author, I believe. She hoped to be wise and reasonable in time, but alas, she must confess to herself that she was not wise yet. How do you feel when I say that?
It's a good one. Everyone starts off not where they want to be.
Humble yourself a little bit too, though. Yeah. Okay. Well.
I have a quote. Abraham Lincoln once said, "If you,
I think I know this.
If you are a slave owner, I will attack you with the North." What do you think of that quote?
I know this quote. This is from The Office. He says, Michael Scott from The Office, he says, "If you're a slave owner, I will attack you from the North." Is that the end of the quote? I thought there was something else.
That's it. That's it.
No, there's more to it. I'd have to look it up.
I think it's just, "I will attack you with the North."
I will attack you with the North. He keeps saying something else, though. And I'm going to have to look that up now. Anyway, that is the quote of, hopefully 2020, maybe some of these put you the right direction.
Yeah. This is the last episode of 2019.
This one is official, This
on the last day of 2019, in fact.
100, Well, you'll get this one, and guess what? You'll have to, tomorrow, start 2020. Yeah. Take these quotes. I highly suggest taking a look at your habits and what gets you to those habits and what do you need to change to stop doing some of those bad habits. Mm-hmm. Or anything you want to say to 2019 as it flies by?
Farewell. You sucked for most of the year, so
come on.
I'm moving on.
You didn't suck for
moving on, baby.
Yeah, moving on from 2019. Me personally, I think this was a tough. I mean, it was tough, but it was good. Like, we expanded a lot, but that meant a lot of work for the gym here. A lot of things have changed, and I don't think. I mean, you just can't get to 2020 without 2019. So I'm not resentful or.
I
never had a year that I was like, oh God, I wish that never happened, because it's the only way I would be the person I am today.
I think there's a lot of work ahead for me personally, and for us, this podcast. Mm-hmm. But I'm excited. I feel good about 2020. I feel like I'm in a good place, so I'm ready. I'm excited.
Yeah, talk about the Olympian Project in 2020. I think we should have our Patreon account up and running with content. So if you really want to be a follower and support the Olympian Project for us to continue to do these things and even expand further, we definitely plan. Like, we started, I think, this podcast at an odd time of the year, holidays. It's really tough to keep things flowing, and we kept pumping out episodes, but that's getting the involvement that we want isn't quite there yet. You're going to see in 2020, like, some interview episodes, right? We've got some people on tap that we're going to be bringing in here. We're excited about. We didn't want to bring them in here right at the end of the year. We just know a lot of people are busy. We also wanted to keep putting out content for y'all to enjoy, but we're going to have some really good stuff coming up in 2020, including the bonus episode. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's happening, and I know we've talked about it, but we want to know the best version of a chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
That's coming soon.
That should be coming soon. Got a little backed up, but
and we'll get on a better process, and so in 2022 we should
build
have
those habits.
Build the habits, right? Yeah. And we'll have a bonus episode. I think we've got some ideas for January's bonus episode. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Patreon, you can go there and support us and follow us there. Of course, Facebook, all that social media stuff, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on Twitter now. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for 2019, man. That's crazy to say. Yeah, you seem real enthused about that. 2020, here we come. Olympian Project. We're going to be the best version of ourselves in 2020.
We all are. Everyone who listens to this podcast.
Let's do it this year, 2020. All right, guys. We'll catch y'all next year.
See ya.